Mike from Mike's Auto Detailing here. We've got a 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee that we're going to do a repair today. Actually, the next couple of days, 2 or 3 maybe. And what's going on here is, if I can get you in the camera, a person has hit their car and they put a pretty good gouge and scratch in this plastic wheel well molding. And then they also put a dent in the fender right here, which is quite minor, but it's still part of the repair that we've got to take care of. So you guys come along and we'll do this repair together. So, all right. And one of the first things that we're going to do here is remove this mud flap right here, and then we'll continue on taking off this wheel well molding, which is plastic. It's got a number of different attachments, and I'll take you along as we go. So it's pretty typical when you start taking cars apart, especially of this age, that your bolts, who have been in there a long time, the first bolt, the head broke right off, and the second bolt, as you can see, is rusted nearly all the way through here, and there's no threads on it, so I had to pry behind it to get it to release and to come on out. So I'll have to replace this, and whichever attachment on the back side here, I'll have to figure out a way to attach this. So we take off this final bolt. Hopefully it comes out. A different size, of course. So people that put these mud flaps on, they'll run out of bolts, so they'll use some random other kind of bolt to finish up what they're doing, and of course we end up finding that out when we're doing the repair. Fortunately, that one came out, so we're good there. And then we just have a plastic clip on the bottom that I have to pop out to get that on out. So, all right, to continue on here, I'll get my tool. You need one of these, what we just call a pry tool, and it, it's goes to a point here, and it's cut out in the middle, and so that you can slide it into these plastic clips and then pry them out. So right here, and I've already started them so that they'll come out a little easier for us. You get your tool between the tip of it and the main body of the clip, and you pry down, and it'll pop out, and then you get underneath the second part of it. Where are you? It cooperates, and then it comes out, and you have 2 pieces here, 2 pieces to the clip, and it's best to put them back together and then store that someplace where you won't lose it, because you'll have to reuse these. So that will continue right on around this molding right here, so we'll continue doing that. And I'll put these in a Ziploc bag, which will, and then we'll put them inside the car so we don't lose them. And then we have over here 2 plastic rivets. Jeep is notorious for using plastic rivets right here and right here. And they have to be either drilled out, or I usually just take a chisel, or like a gasket scraper like this, and make sure it's sharp on the end, and then just tap it in, and usually you'll pop it. There you go. There you go. Pop the head off of the rivet, and when we get the new molding, we'll put brand new rivets back in it. And then we have one, looks like a 10mm socket to take out right there. And do that. And we want to save these bolts because we got to reuse them. And there you go. So now we'll take the molding out. Let me get back here a little bit for you. This also clips into the clips in to the bumper as well, but they come undone pretty easy. And then there'll be clips on down the molding. You try to save them if you can, so I'll get a plastic pry tool, and as I'm prying on the inside, well, see, there it goes, pretty easy. We're not worried about saving this one, but we want to save the clips if we can, because you never know if the new molding has clips or not. Generally they do. There you go. There's our molding. Right, now I'm gonna take some what's called Prep-Sol or Prep-All. I have in a gallon can, and I put it in a squirt bottle. And this is a wax and grease remover. It'll remove tar or any impurities that are on this panel here. I'm going to do that now, and then once the repair is all done and we get ready for paint, I'm going to do it again. But I'm going to spray this on pretty liberally. And this, as I said, gets off waxes and grease and tar or any impurities that are going to affect your body work or your paint work. And this sprays on, and it'll dry as you're wiping it. You want to make sure that you're wiping it the whole time and get it all completely off. Don't leave any residue on there. It evaporates quite quickly. But again, we'll do this probably multiple times before we're ready for paint. So there's that. Okay, now we're going to take a sander with 180 grit sandpaper on it right here. And we're going to sand out that spot that has a small dent in it right here. And I've isolated the fender so that there's no way that I can hit that and put a sand mark in that paint. We don't want to damage the door edge in any way, so I've isolated that with tape and made it thick. And the same with the molding down at the bottom. All right, so here we go. Now you can see the low spot right in here, and this is where we'll fill that, and then we'll sand that all out, make that all smooth and make it go away. All right, I've got a what we call icing in here. This is a body fill product, but this is more of a finishing product. It's fine. And for this size of a dent, which is hardly any, I've elected to use this instead because it's a lot finer, easier to sand, and it doesn't pinhole like regular body fill does. So this will take care of very small imperfections and small dents. So I put a little bit here on my mixing pad here, and a little bit of hardener. You don't gotta be critical on this, just don't overdo it. And then you just fold that in, mix it. And you try not to fold in air, because if you fold air in, then you'll have pinholes. So you mix it as, I mean, if you stir it, you're probably going to put air in it, which will cause you to have pinholes. If you've ever done body work, you'll understand what I'm talking about, pinholes. So if you could keep pushing it flat like this, make sure it's clean off of your spreader, and keep pushing it flat. Keep it in the center. Keep your spreader clean. And when you're all done mixing it, then spread it and smush it down and push out air. I've got quite a bit more than I'm going to need, of course, but there it is. So now it's ready for. Oh, did I just do that? Unbelievable. So let me clean that off. If you drop it on the ground, then you got to get your thing clean. All right. So then I'm just going to put enough on to fill that little deviation. I'm not going to put too much on because again, then we'll have pinholes. This you don't want to fill big dents with, and you really don't want to use body fill to fill big dents. You want to straighten all the dents first, and then put body fill over top of that. This is a finishing fill, and so I'm going to clean up my edges right here. And we'll call it good. All right. And we'll let that dry for a little bit and then sand it. All right, we're ready now to sand this filler out. And this is a sanding block that I use. It's a Dura block. It's quite hard, it still is somewhat flexible, but it has Velcro. And then my sanding pad is Velcro as well. And all the different grits that I have all are the same, so I can just take this one off, put another one on. There you go. All right. And this is 80 grit. So I'm going to start with that, knock that down, knock all the high spots off, but not get overly aggressive with this. And then we'll go to 180. All I'm doing now is just taking off too much the high spots because we're going to take it just so far with 80 and try not to go too far. If you go too far, you're going to be putting more filler on. And you can see as you're going where your low spot is. And again, you don't sand so you're coming over here onto the adjacent panel. I'm going to go, that's about far enough with 80, right? Yeah, we're going to go 180 now. Here's 180. There we go. And this finishes it out much better, less scratches, and is much easier to fill with primer. I'll probably go even one step farther to 220 before I prime on this particular spot. So I want to get all my 80 scratches out. There's still a couple right there. You don't want to go too far. You want a feel of it as you go, and see that you can feel your high spots. I'm a little high right there. Still a little bit high. We're getting close now. Alright. So that's pretty good. So we're going to stop there because our primer, we'll go over that with primer, and then we'll be able to block that out, and then we'll be right back to original shape. Right, now that we've got that dent repaired, we're going to use an 800 grit. It's a foam pad I use. It's just easier to hold on to. but this is 800 grit, and I'm going to sand this whole panel with 800 because we'll be putting black up to here. We'll be blending black up and then clear coating over the whole thing, and this whole panel needs to be sanded with 800 so that the clear coat will adhere. It needs to have something for that clear to bite into for it to hold, and 800 grit will do that, and then it won't show in the clear as well. The clear will fill in that 800 scratch, and then but yet it'll still stick to that panel. Okay. Alright folks, now that we've got the vehicle all fixed, we've got the body fill all on, we've got the panel all sanded out in 800, now we're going to tape it all up for primer. So here we go. Outline the whole panel that you're going to paint. And you paper it up. This keeps overspray from getting on the rest of the vehicle, even while you're priming. And I'll probably leave this paper on for paint as well. You gotta push everything down real raw so there's no gaps between your tape and your other tape, so that the paint doesn't get underneath and get on your other panel. not good enough because we're just going to be priming right in here. One more piece. Alright, then we'll mix up some primer, and then that's, I'll bring you in on that. We're going to mix up some primer, and all my product that I use here is all a 4-to-1 mixing ratio. And you'll see that right on this, it's a cup, 3M's PPS cups, and it has a liner that goes in it, and that keeps the paint in the liner, and then you just use the paint and throw the liner away. It's a pretty efficient way of doing it. And then the 4-to-1 mixing ratio, you can see it right there. So I just fill it up to one of the numbers and then fill it up to the next. It like goes 777, 666, 555, and you just fill it up to like say the 6, and then you would put in the amount of hardener to go to the next 6. So whatever, if you pour it into the 2, you go to the next 2, if that makes any sense to you. So anyways, I'm going to pour in some primer, and I don't need a lot because we're not doing a lot of priming. So we'll just put in maybe to 2, and then we'll put in hardener at the ratio we're talking about. There we go. And we mix those two products together, and it's an epoxy, so the hardener will react to the paint, to the primer, and then it will harden. You have a lot of time with this. I could probably spend an hour and a half maybe with this or more. It's a little chilly today, so it'll stay hard a little longer, or soft. Usable, let's say that, usable. Alright, then we'll snap our top on. You have to make sure you put these on properly. And then we'll get our primer gun, which is this one right here. This gun's been with me since, 1980 something. It's been a really good gun, but now it's a primer gun. So it used to be my main gun. So come on out, we'll do a little primer. I'll take you out here. Here we go. Get you over here. And we're priming what we repaired this morning. And my air is over across the shop. Like that, don't go away. Okay, here we go. See, we got it masked up both ways, and that way no overspray is going to go on the adjacent panels. And we're just going to put a light coat on first. We're going to let that flash. Let that flash off, and then we'll come back and put another coat on. Okay, here goes the second coat. That's all it takes for that. We'll let that settle in a while, flash off, and we'll do folks. We're going to conclude this video as part 1, and then we're going to do a part 2 with the paint process with this Jeep that we've been doing here. So you guys stay tuned, and part 2 will be right behind this one. And thanks for watching. We'll be seeing you guys real soon.